Here's an argument that will make almost everyone uncomfortable. Left and right, men and women. Almost no one is safe from it. It is not my argument. I want to lay it out as clearly as I can, and then hand it to you. The claim goes like this, that somewhere in the last 100 years we traded the family for something called freedom, and that the trade was not quite as free as it looked. Let's start where the argument starts, with honesty about the past. The old family order, the argument admits, was often too rigid, too hard, sometimes cruel to women, treating a woman as someone who should simply obey and stay quiet. So a reaction came. It had to. But the argument says reactions rarely stop at balance. Like a wave, they swing from one extreme past the middle to the opposite extreme. The old order was too tight. The new one, the argument claims, became too loose. And the answer, it says, is probably neither. Not the old cage, not total freedom without consequences. Now the argument turns to something more basic and more provocative. It points to a pattern it calls give and receive. In this view, the man is cast as the one who gives protection, direction, material support, and the woman as the one who receives that, and from it builds home, warmth, stability. The argument insists this is not about worth, not that one is lesser. It frames it as roles. As a division of labor written, it claims, partly by biology itself. This is the part many people reject outright. Hold that objection. We will come back to it, because the argument's most interesting move is not about biology at all. It is about money. Before we go there, if questions like this are why you're here, this is the channel for them. Subscribe and stick around. This is where the argument gets sharp. Here is the claim that cuts across politics. The argument says a large part of modern liberation was not only a moral awakening, it was also extremely useful to the state, the market, and capital. Why? Follow the money, the argument says. When both adults enter full-time work, the state collects more taxes, the market gains more labor, corporations gain more consumers, households gain income, but also more rent, more debt, more childcare, more services to buy. The argument's phrase for the goal is blunt. Every person becomes a separate economic unit, the man alone, the woman alone, the child inside the system. Everyone works, everyone spends, everyone pays. And the family, the argument says, gets only what is left over. If both parents give their whole day to the system, who is left to receive the child and build the home? In this telling, children spend their days in institutions, then screens. Parents become, the argument says, mainly financiers. The family still exists on paper, but it may no longer live like a family. And here is the part that makes the argument hard to dismiss as just nostalgia. It says capital does not want strong, close, independent families, because a self-sufficient family buys less, borrows less, depends less. It prefers individuals who work, spend, rent, borrow, and then buy solutions to problems the system created. So the argument's warning is this: be careful when something is sold to you purely as freedom. Sometimes the argument says freedom is just a nicer word for becoming more useful to the system. From here, the argument reaches its conclusion, and this is where it gets most contested. It says the man should again accept a role as protector and provider, not to control the woman, not to make her lesser, but to carry weight, to owe a duty, not just enjoy a freedom, and the woman should keep her dignity, freedom, and respect, without being forced, the argument says, to become a second version of a man. Its final image is a family that is close, stable, and a little less owned by the market. That is the argument, start to finish, as strongly as I can put it. Now, because this channel does not do one-sided, here are the strongest objections, the ones the argument has to survive. 1. The leap from biology to social roles. That the man gives a cell and the woman carries a child is biology. That this should decide who works or leads is a jump biology does not make on its own. Critics say an is in nature does not automatically become an ought in society. 2. Who benefits from the old roles? The same follow the money logic can be aimed at tradition, not only at liberation. 3. Millions of families with 2 working parents are close and stable. The link between working mothers and broken homes is asserted by the argument, but it is not a settled fact. 4. Freedom has its own value, even when capital also profits. That someone profits from a freedom does not by itself make that freedom a trick. So we are left with 2 things that are both true at once. The capital critique is sharp. The market really does gain when the family weakens. The gender role conclusion is exactly where reasonable people split hardest. And maybe that split is the honest place to end. Not with an answer handed down, but with the hardest version of the question placed in your hands. Did we free the family, or did we simply make it more useful? Can a man carry responsibility without a woman carrying less? And is freedom always freedom? Or sometimes just a better deal for someone else? That is where I stop, and where you begin. This one belongs in the comments. Which part convinced you? And which part lost you? Tell me where the argument is strong. Tell me where it breaks. I read the comments. The best ones might become the next video. And if you want more questions most channels avoid, subscribe. There is a lot more coming. Thanks for thinking this through with me. The question is yours now.